Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're going to Masech this Bava Kama daf Mem Vav. We are going to begin in the middle of this Amud by the new Mishnah, by the parak. Shor, and this is referring to a shor which is a tam, shenagach hasapara. So you have an ox that gored a cow. V'nimsa ubara besida. And we find that there was a miscarriage on the side of the road. However, v'eni adua, it's not known exactly what happened over here. Again, this animal had died on the road, this fetus. But we don't know. Im anshla nagcha yalda or im shenagcha yalda. We don't know what happened first. Did it give birth and was a stillborn? And then afterwards it gored this animal, this para? Or maybe the animal gored this para while it was pregnant, which caused the damages of this fetus to die. So what do we do? What's the status? So again, because it's a tam, in which you normally pay chati nezek for the para, mishlam chati nezek a para, because it's a tam. However, revia nezek lavlad, because it's a situation we're not so sure, we split it down another half, and therefore you pay a quarter. Revia nezek. Says Rashi, vlad mutal b'savik hu v'cholken. So when there's a situation of doubt, so we divide it in half. The chin para shenochas ashor would be the same way around if the para gored the shore. V'nimsa vlada besida, and we find again the vlad is on the side. So in this situation, you don't know if the para, when it gored, when it attacked, if it attacked while it was pregnant or not. So mishtalim chatzi nezek. So of course you have to pay chatzi nezek, but you pay chatzi nezek min hapara, because the par is definitely the animal that did the damage, or a vi nezek min havlad. But because it's possible that the vlad was also part of the vehicle of doing the damage, even though it was just a vlad, nonetheless, it could have been inside the mother, and therefore you can collect megufoi, half of the half, which would be a quarter. Okay. So, Rabbi says Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel the following: Zu divrei sumchus. The fact that we split the vlad so that we say it's revia nezek, that's only according to sumchus. As we saw before, that sumchus is the opinion that when you have monetary issues and there's a dispute, you don't know what the din is, you split it. This is a klal gadol, which actually we saw before. By Bari Veshema, Bari, where exactly they argue. We ended up saying that they really only argue by Bari. So he says, Klal, there's an important rule, that there's a din of Raya. So according to Chachamim, they don't pay for the Uber, only the cow, and that's it. Because you have to prove, Taka, that that's what happened. So Lamali Member Zek Klal Gadol Badin. What is those extra words mean? What are they trying to add there? So Yitzchak, Diafil Nizik Oimer Bari Mazik Oimer Shema Hamotza B'Cheva Raya. So as we said before, normally the din is, when do we say Hamotza B'Cheva Raya? That's dafka in a situation where it's Bari is where they're chaylik, and maybe when the Nizik or the Mazik is one, you can only say Hamotza B'Cheva Raya, or maybe they'll agree. Bari v'shema or shema bari. So over here is telling you that even though the nizik says I'm bari, I'm telling you that your ox gored my cow while it was still pregnant. Umazik or meshema, and the mazik does no idea. Still must mechavaraya, which is a huge chiddush. That even then, so inami or l'chi haditmar. It's based on that which we learn in Baba Basra. It says like this: a person sells an ox to his friend. It turns out that the ox that was sold was a violent ox. Rav Oimer Shmuel Oimer. So Rav logically says it's not a good sale. Shmuel Oimer Yochel Shirmeli. You could say l'shchita machartivloch. I sold this for shchita. In other words, I knew that in fact it was a wild animal, but it wasn't a mekach tois, because I didn't think you actually wanted iridia for plowing purposes. I thought you wanted it for shechting. So if you want the meat for shchita, what's the difference if it's a nakch and if it's a wild animal? Fine. Says Rashi, Inami l'chi had yachol omer l'shchita machartiv lach. I sold it to you for shchita. V'afal gav the ikol memer zilbas aruba. You should go after the majority of aruba. Loradia kamazavne. Most people buy oxen not to immediately shecht it, but for plowing, and therefore v'havi mekachtois. Yashmi'in masnisen. Our mission is telling you the hayil v'nokit meicher demei. There's still a din of a motzim b'chavaraya even in this situation, even though there's a rov that would tell you that it should be a mekach tais. That's the chiddush over here. Okay, so why do we say that that's the din? But next say I gavra de zavin l'ridya, I gavra de zavin l'nechasta. Let's look at this guy. Is this someone who typically sells plowed animals for plowing, or is he sells shchita meat? Well, it's a situation where both take place. The animals are sold both for shchita and for plowing. Therefore, it's a little bit hazy and unsure. Obviously, if these animals were all for plowing all the time, then it's certainly mekach tos. You can't say, "Oh, I thought it was for shchita." So it's only a case where taka that was a possibility. Okay, but next idam idmei ridya idmei nichsata when nichsata. Rashi says nichsata is shchita, fancy word for shchita. Obviously, what's more expensive, an animal that you're just going to shecht, or an animal that has the ability to plow? So for plowing, it's more expensive than just to shecht it normally. So why don't you just see how expensive, how much money this guy charged, and then you'll know what this person's intentions were when the animal was being sold. That the meat became quite expensive, and therefore it became the same value, same expensive value as plowing, which is hard to imagine, but it says that there's really no financial difference between the two. Amri, so as we continue to mem vavam and bays, the ileka ishtalume mine. If let's say that he's not to collect from him, lishkale l'tayra bezuze. Then why doesn't he just take the ox? The Amri inshi mimari rashvasach pari ipra, that you can collect from the lova, from the borrower, even brand you may collect. So that's the question. So lotzricha deika leish talume mine, that he actually has money. So it's not talking about a situation where he does not have money, but rather we're talking about a situation where he does have money. Rabbi Maharizem Echachtais. Why do we say it's a Bechachtais? Chazil Basar Ruba. Ruba the Inshil Uridihu, the Zavni. Most people will sell it for plowing, and therefore, if I find out it's a wild animal, so therefore certainly that's not something which I wanted. That it works. We do not go Basar Rov, because Kiazlin Basar Ruba be Isura. We only go Basar Roiv when it comes to the dinim of Isser. When it comes to monetary things, so that's what we're establishing here. Okay. Let's hold off on the Tanya Mihachi. Let's look at question 14. Zeh klal godel bedin amotzim mechavaraya. Well, my itzrach the Tana zeh klal godel bedin. So even if the nizik says bari masik is shama, we still say, or even if the moicher, someone who sells the short to his friend, and it turns out to be a nacha in the field, even though the rov are for plowing, but nonetheless, if he sells it, so we say hamotzim. The moicher can say hamotzim chaveroi alav haraya. Okay, so that's what that means, and I think all these questions are going to be identical here. TA4. Chamam is that called gadol, but then klal gadol yusui mai. Nizik bari masik shama, or again enoch mamanach haroiv. So it's really identical to question 14. Is TA4 and TB5. Chamam is that called gadol, but then matzah b'chavaraya. Ma kavanas chachamim l'hoisiv ba'armim zeklal gadol b'din. Well, what are you going to do? It's a good question, so it keeps being asked things over and over, the same thing. Hopefully they'll ask the same question next time I take this test in a few weeks. I can only hope. TB5 and TB5. Okay. All right. Let's continue. So Tanya Mihachi. So we also have a brisa supporting what we just established. Shorsha Nagachasapara, so if an ox that gores a cow, Benimsa Ubro Besida, and you find its Uber on the side of the road, the end of the day, we don't know when it happened. Yalda. So did the animal attack the cow before or after it gave birth? So Masham Chati Nezek Lapara, Ravin Nezek Lavlad, Divrei Sumchis. There's a word of sumchas, because sumchas always holds, generally holds, that mammon hamutal b'safik is cholkin. The chachamim motzi mechavel v'raya, which again, the chiddush is, even in a situation where the guy's bari, where the nizik is bari. Amar Shmuel bar Nachman, menayin l'hamoitzi mechavel v'raya. Where do we find that rule actually applies? Where do we see it? Shenamar, because it says, regarding the claimant, Mi ba'al davarim yigash aleihem. Who are the man of words? Go to them. Yagish raya aleihem. He should present a claim. So that's what the pasuk is literally meaning. Ba'al davarim says toiveya. Okay. So maskav Ravashi. Halamali kra. Why do you need a pasuk to tell us hamosim mechavel v'raya that if I have money that for you to take it out of my hands, you need to prove that it's yours. Svaro, it's obvious. The person is sick, you go to the doctor. The doctor doesn't come to you, you go to the doctor. So it's obvious that you should not have a claim to someone else's money. El Kral Rav Nachman, Amarabba, Boravua. The Amar Rav Nachman, Amarabba, Boravua. So again, Hamotzim Mechavar is just pushed to the svar. It's logical. So what do we do with this pasuk? So tell you the menayin she'en iskokin elo toivei atchila. That first first come, first serve. You deal with the counterclaim later. Shenemer mi bal davarim yigash aleihem yagash davar aleihem. Sometimes you will listen to the counterclaim first. If he's going down to his possessions. Says Rashi. So he says, Yomi $100. B'shimin mashivo tafasta mishali, that he took from that which is mine. Actually, masha tafasta, give me back what you took. O mashkin hoy biyadcha, there was a mashkin v'nivchas midamav. So basically, Ruvain is asking for the money, and then Shimon's saying a counterclaim. So niskakin l'tainis Ruvain, because Ruvain was first, so we will address his issue first. Umotziim lo hamanim Shimon. We'll take the money from Shimon. Yachan niskakin l'tainis Shimon l'dun al davar tatvis of a hamashkin, and then we'll deal with Shimon's claim. So first, we're going to look at them as two separate cases. So fine, you have to pay the money back to Ruvain, but now you have a claim that maybe Ruvain has something of yours, so then we can deal with that. So that's how it typically will work. However, because zili nichse, when they're going down to your possessions, says Rashi, sheshkan tigarin shiknuhu b'dami mikarim b'machar yelchalahem inamish karkais of zolos alidei tviazu. Because of these claims, the property is going to go down in value. Zu shirayin oiso dochok v'im yoitzin lo tvisasai. So basically, if there's going to be a potential downside, so then we're going to be lenient, and maybe we'll listen to the counterclaim first. So how do we understand this? Is it that half of the damages, so again, a cow damaged the ox. So is it chatzi nezek and a quarter of a damage? Palganiskahu de boy shlumi. So half the damages he has to pay, this is a tam, so you'd be paying chatzi nezek. Kuli niska, all the damages should be nechi riva, my vinte. All the damages minus a quarter, how do you understand that? In other words, if we're dealing with a tam, Why would we say half of the claim is the cow, and the half of it is the vlad, a quarter of the or half of the vlad? That ends up becoming 3/4. But if we're dealing with a shomer we're talking about rather a tam, you should only pay chatinezek. So Rabbi chatinezek, when we're referring to half of the responsibility to pay, echad mi arba benezek, uravi nezek, echad mishmoyne benezek. So v'i para uvlada dechaninhu, and we consider if the para and the vlad belongs to the same owner, then hachinam nemaser malil bal para b'manavsha chatinezek havli. So you're right. If we're dealing with a situation of chatinezek, it doesn't make any difference if the owner is the same for the para and the vlad. If it's the same person, it's just chatinezek no matter what. So it doesn't really make any difference, because when it comes to the shore that was damaged, we pay chatinezek if it's the same owner. Over here, it's a little bit more complicated, because we're dealing with a situation where the para belongs to one person, but its vlad had a different owner. So now the idikadim tavi labal para tchila, if you would have come and claimed to the owner of the cow first, so achinami di'amli abal para, you can say to the balpara, para didach a ziktan. We know for sure your cow did damage. You damaged my ox. Havli raya di islach shutvi. Give me a proof that you're partners with this other guy, because maybe this animal, again, already gave birth to this vlad before your para did damage to my shore. El dekadim tavla bal vlad chila. What we're talking about is he claimed to the owner of the shore, went to the owner of the vlad first. The Amalei, the owner of the cow, can now say, Golis adaitach deshutfasa isli. Prove to me that I have partnership in this. So, according to the Shita of Abaya, he could claim that the vlad was a partner in damaging, so it gets split in half. So he'll get 1/4 from the owner of the cow and 1/8 from the owner of the fetus. Ad Kan.